anonymous grievances here. And if the person who finds this video and figures it out who it is, hopefully whatever you're doing works for you. But if you are running a 4-hour one-shot and 3 of those hours is purchasing items, attuning to powerful, equipment and figuring out the best spells and prep before you actually enter the battle arena, only to experience about 2 to 3 rounds of combat where you have to wrap it up quickly, and to have a scene, just to have a scene with some random NPC shop owner, then in my opinion, then you might as well just made a D&D shopping sim. Why would you even advertise it as a battle arena? And I must stress this, some people may go for this. If you enjoy it, great. Shopping can be fun and interesting, but it shouldn't be the damn focus of roleplay, combat, one shot. I just had to say that this is a real story. So I'm airing out my grievances. This is all above table. Welcome players, DMs, and TTRPG enthusiasts to Above Table. For the feast, I brought a side of order and understanding, but it got cold on the way here, so hopefully you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
All right, we can always eat. Yeah, it's like eating cold pizza. Sometimes it's all right. It's okay to have it. No, but so all that opening was something I was about to engage in, and I dropped out the last minute. There was, and again, I'm going to try to remove as much details as I can, but there was a DM content creator who I found their one-shot series that they had, and I was like, this is very interesting. I always like to participate in other content creators' stuff if it's available to me. It fit within my time range, and I was like, this is great. Ended up checking out their past sessions, and literally a 4.5 hour one shot, 3 hours of it was dedicated to shopping. I don't know why that's a thing. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it would have to be a different game.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to stretch and be like, all right, what would be the cool part of it? I mean, first off, none of the stuff that's like available to buy in D&D, I guess if it was all magic items everywhere, then it's okay. But I mean, once you have like 2 or 3 of whatever, it's broken enough. You're not going to get a chance in a fight to do anything cool with multiple magic items. So what I'm thinking of is like the deck building part of a deck building game.
Oh yeah.
If the whole thing was you buy stats, you buy powers, and you buy equipment. And I'm sure there are games that do this that I just don't know the name of. But if that was the focus, and then, it would be like maybe a gladiator kind of game. And so you build your robot or whatever. So it's all about optimization and like combining systems together in interesting ways. Then it might be worth, yeah.
Then I could see it's an idea.
Because I've played Magic for a really long time, and a lot of times like the brewing, the deck building, the thinking up how stuff might work together, or like why you play draft, right? You take what's available and you make the best out of that. Like imagine, I think I've probably referenced this already on a previous one of these, because I like the limitations and creativity of like a draft format.
Yeah.
So a drafting shop. And I'm just thinking about D&D. There's like no difference between any of the weapons or whatever. There's like so limited. What's the point of like
an added D4 or
it's everything does D6, D8, D10. Like it's so boring to be like shop. But if there was a meaningful difference and you had like pick between these 3 and you can buy one and you have your budget or you pass that round or whatever it is, like there's something there. But I don't think D&D is the system for
it's
this experiment.
Why I opt in terms of all of my campaigns to always just homebrew an item or an ability.
Yeah.
It doesn't take us 3 hours though.
Huh?
It doesn't take us 3 hours to figure it out.
It does not take us 3 hours. And a great example of that was I think the latest example was Legati. And we don't have to get into the specifics of what Legati's new power is, but that's always in the back pocket because you are a squishy wizard. But yeah, I think it's more fun when someone's able to homebrew it and tie it to the actual character. We're moving on from that, but no, this was I was so excited because I thought it was going to be a high level, let's show off all these really cool ideas. One shot that was a battle arena. Like each arena was different and you never knew what you were going to get into. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait. This is going to happen on the weekend. Let me go check the guy's, previous content. His previous one shot that he ran with this particular module. And 4.5 hours, 3 of it was full buying something. And was it buying something from NPCs who obviously did not like the players? And that's fun. That's fun to have like an NPC who's like, I'm gruff and I hate you all and I always have to do work and here's your +3 shield. Fuck it. But
how many players were there? Because if there's not even that many players, what's the point of having shopping go that long?
I think there were 4. There were 4 players.
Even so, I can't think of it stretching 3 hours. That's a very long time.
There was some cringeworthy RP in the middle of it, between players as well as mainly with the NPCs and going into their pockets and going, all right, you have 50,000 gold. This guy will take 10,000 for this magic item that's legendary. And I'm like, okay, I don't like this. This is boring. Shopping episodes are really interesting to me because obviously I've run multiple campaigns a week, and when we do get into like those shopping centers, I've had people who are just like, I want to find this particular item, and if I can find it, that's great, and if I can't, we can move on. And I love those people because it tells me, well, if they're looking for something that I can reasonably say is here, great, we can have a scene. But if they just turn to me and they go, I just want to buy some ball bearings, I'm like, yes, how much is it? Gold? Go buy it. I don't care.
I think it also depends on your character, though, because, for Phoenix, she doesn't really need shit. So it's just like, for her to go into a shop and go, I need a laundry list of things, doesn't really work. But, like, for Legati, if you need components and you're trying to do a specific thing, then I could see you going in there with a list.
Yeah, and, in the past, like, with the D&D option, the components versus focus, like Arcane focus is just so much easier to just do that and just like, okay,
go on with our name,
right? Yeah, hey, that's the name of the thing. But especially for Legati, who's so much into the details and the weird of the magic, like actually paying attention to what the components are, which are often very flavorful. Like it's a part of D&D that gets glossed over, but they can be fun or cool. And like the one I'm working on now, and I'm paying attention to it because it costs money, and it's a 3rd level spell, so I don't have access to it yet, but I'm planning, is like I need that crystal vial that costs like 300 gold, and now I need tears in it. And I'm waiting for an opportunity that somebody might be crying, and I might be able to get that. And that's like, it's such a cool RP thing. And like, I don't want to buy tears, right? I want to earn it, because then that will add something to that spell whenever I cast it in the future. So I have those captured tears. Yeah.
Here, quick.
And I think you're right that D&D doesn't really give that, like finding it and earning it is really interesting and really fun, but definitely not like going to a shop and buying a healing potion is usually an entertaining scene. And I know we jump back to Blades because that's another campaign we're in, but there's always a mechanic with Blades and other TTRPGs where it's like, things can go wrong. You can get mugged on the way back, or you go on, you make a good deal.
Yeah. Blades is weird because it essentially has there's a downtime action that we've hardly done at all, where you can acquire an asset, where if you need to buy something, you can. Something that's not on your character sheet. It usually would be something specific to an upcoming score, but it could also be like, if your character wanted a really good gun, and you just don't have anything on your character sheet, you'd work at that. You'd find a shop that you'd be able to buy it, you'd get some coin together, and you'd buy it, and then you'd have it permanently on your character sheet, and that would be a thing. But Blades and a lot of the other, we'll call them like more modern or more fiction-forward RPGs, a lot of times just having an item just gives you fictional positioning to do something. Mm-hmm. It's like your character needs to have a shovel if you're going to be digging, right? It's not about the stats of the shovel or anything else. It's about you need this thing. right? And so it's less important that you went and bought or whatever, like how many gold you spent on it. That's why the Blade's inventory is so flexible. Is like, here's a list of things your character could have. And if you need them, you check it off, right? And sometimes you have to fill in details. Like, these are documents. What kind of documents? Or this is an unusual weapon.
Yeah.
And you define it in the moment, and you make it cooler in that way, right? But Blade says the advantage of being so flexible with time, with flashbacks and everything like built into the system. It sucks to like go shopping for a really specific cool thing, and then like this never comes up. You just never have an opportunity to use it. It's like, oh, okay.
Amber, you're always buying, like, you're like, oh, new drugs, always new drugs.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that was one of her downtime actions. Lorelei's downtime actions was like to make,
You're making new product.
make a new, make a
Hell
new
yeah.
item.
And that's always, and for like D&D, like I think, you know, what I would consider like campaign 0, which was Thomag, you know, there was moments where like you guys are going to go to the grave center or the graveyard, and it's like, do you think you would have bought we would be at the scene, and I remember moments of like we going, oh, we would like to dig up a grave, and you turn to us and go, do you think you would have bought a shovel or something to get over here? Be like, yeah, okay, just minus a gold and you're fine. And that's how you should do shopping, is those mundane items. And I'm looping back the intro of like 3 hours. I don't need to have a scene for you to buy a shovel, you know. And that was the biggest thing about this arena fight that I witnessed. I was like, guys, we don't need to have a scene about you buying ball bearings. It's not that important.
Yeah, honestly, it would have, like, imagine how much better it would be if there was a pool of like, you know, let's say there was 5 people. There was a pool of like 20 things, magic items, ball bearings, or whatever, and you do a snake draft, and you get to pick one thing, and that's what your thing is. And so you end up with like 4 interesting things, right? Can you combine them? Did you manage to draft? Like, that's so much better than everybody having a budget and going to D&D's list and buying stuff.
And then someone who is able to switch up their spells or abilities, like part of game prep time before you go into a big fight, is like, okay, now I have these 4 random items. Well, if I switch this spell and this spell and this ability, I could maybe get some more powerful usage out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, thinking of that, it wasn't something you bought, but thinking of like items and their potential and whether they get used. I'm thinking of towards the end of Thomag, when you guys had to go through and fight all like the elemental titans to bless the Whitewood stake. You got a thing, I think, from the Earth Titan. It was the incredibly heavy orb. That like nobody could carry. It weighs like 1,000 pounds, right? And I think you did a tricky thing you put in the bag of holding to be able to carry it. But when I gave you that, I was like, if at some point somebody flies up in the air and drops this thing,
like an anvil,
it will do an incredible amount, like heavier than an anvil. I established it would be like a meteor strike if you dropped it from the air.
Why didn't we do that?
And nobody ever did it. It's because it was kind of like I made it a hassle to carry on purpose, because you have to be tricky about how to use it. And then you had to
fly it. And,
I was specifically thinking about it in the parade fight. I thought somebody might drop it onto Masant's parade float or whatever and like explode it or something like that. But, you know, it's a lot of stuff is cool, but then how much time was it worth coming up with if it never does anything?
That's true.
Right? Yeah. It's saving all your healing potions for the last boss and then like not using them. It's like, I probably should have used those earlier, right?
So pro tip to all the DMs out there, when it comes to, there's a lot of fun opportunities when it comes to getting magical items. And even if it's a high level, that was another thing that I got really annoyed at. I saw some level 20s competing in this arena, and there was one level 15 and then like one level 5. And I was like, how does this work?
I'm going to buy so much shit that I'm going to be a level 20.
It was wonky. So again, to that DM, if you find this, I apologize. I don't really find that enjoyable in my opinion, but surely you have people who are playing on it on the regular, so happy days for them.
My thing is, like, you've had to have created your one shot around that for to have that amount of time, like 3 hours. Like, okay, maybe they'll shop for an hour, and it goes over. Okay, but 3, you had to have made that like the basis of your one shot.
And just, I mean, thinking about like taking it as that's what we want to do is make buying an essential element. Even if it's like you have 15 minutes, you have 10,000 gold. I will call time, and whatever you have entered into this like Word document is what you have. We'll double check the math, but that's what you have. Like that too, like doing it under pressure and having to make quick decisions. Like there's so many different ways you could add an element of excitement to it. That it's a bummer that that's not what happened, right?
It's a shopping game where like you had to run through the grocery store and throw a bunch of shit in your cart.
Yeah, supermarket sweep,
Oh,
but it's in a magic item shop is a good
That'd
idea.
be so cool.
Some of them are cursed, but you don't have a chance to like look closely at them, and
Just
Where's
some
my
monsters
pen?
jump out and try to stop you or steal stuff from your cart. Yeah.
I'm so
This is gonna
happy
be a
this is
one-shot.
recorded. This is so
That's a good
I'm so
idea.
happy this is recorded.
That's a fun idea.
So fun.
That's what I was thinking of. I was like, oh man, they're just like, you're gonna throw a bunch of shit in your cart.
Oh
Keep
man.
Yeah.
To the DM who watching this,
There you go.
enjoy your new idea for a one shot.
Cut half the time.
Oh, that's
Way more.
so cool.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, it was a mixture of buying stuff, and it was a lot of like power gamers. And I recently had an experience with a power gamer who left me with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm okay with power. Full on, I'm okay with power gamers. If you want to power game your way into the stratosphere, great. But the only thing I ask at my table is that if you're gonna make a character, please make a character. Don't make someone who goes, I cast Eldritch Blast 19 times around. And that's all I am. And because I do an average damage of 100 hit points per round, I see you guys all as simpletons. And that is my character. I'm like, no one likes that.
Clearly they do, but
It was
Not
the,
me
the reason
personally.
why it went on for 3 hours because there was a power gamer who was like, oh, can I get a +3 shield? And the DM was like, let's have a scene. And let's rope everyone in.
I think that's up to you to cut them off, though. Like, I mean, yeah, there's some people that aren't good about like putting a line in the sand, but it's like, hey, you know, this is where we're wrapping up, or we're done somehow.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's obviously you can't really do it with a one shot, but the most memorable magic items are always the ones that have stories and personality, and they don't even have to be fully homebrewed. It could just be a sword +1. But like you think of the stuff from Lord of the Rings. You think of Sting like glowing when orcs are nearby. You think of the One Ring, obviously, or like the mithril mail and the other stuff. Like those obviously feel so important and powerful. And that's so much cooler than just a sword +2.
Yeah.
Right. And there's tables in the 5e Dungeon Master Guide that tell you like who made this item and where is it from and like what's a quirk it has. You definitely should use those if it's not a one shot and if it actually matters. But those add so much personality to what should be like important equipment, important and memorable equipment.
Like, I think, yeah, you guys found some minor magical items at Scary Island, Spooky Island.
Yeah.
And that was only because it's like, yeah, these items have been sitting here for decades.
Yeah, yeah. They
millennial.
did weird stuff, and it wasn't about how powerful they were. It was like they were just here on this island by themselves doing weird stuff,
The cat
right?
food
And they
feeder.
have interesting.
The cat food feeder. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah. I was like the weirdest things that have an on and off switch.
Yeah, and like to reference Stomag again, what we just did, but the whitewood stake,
Yeah, I
like
was
this
gonna
piece
say.
of wood that was found in this, you know, in the volcano in Thomag that had, as we learned, came from across the world specifically to be there at that time. And you guys had to do all this stuff to make it powerful enough to do what it had to do. Like it's fun to see a magic item like get leveled up and become like a legendary thing through the actions of the players, right? Like it became its important thing through what you were doing. It wasn't just here's a, you know, +3 item. Just go nuts with that.
Did I ever use the gun? don't
I think you did
Did I?
a few times.
You tried to do it several times. I can't remember if you did it in the final fight with
I
the
think, yeah,
Smiling Sword, but I don't know if you had to, because you guys were you were doing well kicking his butt anyway.
We were doing. I know. I remember
Yeah.
numerous times in that campaign where Amber's character Kara was always like, Yeah, I think I'm gonna use the steak right now. And it was always like, now it's appropriate. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It started to work more and more because the deal was like, and with the gun that existed in your mind from the other dimension and whatever, it's as our reality, as the Thomag base reality broke down, or when you were fighting stuff that was eroding the reality, then those things would work better. The steak, because it was the concentrated essence of the material plane in white wood, and the gun and everything because it was from another realm that was now bleeding into this one, so it was becoming more real. I can I'll drop it in our above table chat, but just because you're mentioning the gun and stuff, when we did that one, when we went to the weird gardens, when you guys got sucked into the book and went to the weird gardens, what
system was that?
The system was called the Terrible RPG. It was an adaptation of that because I had originally planned us to play it in person, and then COVID happened right when we were going to do it. Yeah. So the Terrible RPG is you write words on a piece of paper, and whenever you use them, you have to tear off at least one letter, and sometimes you'll tear too much, and you'll use more than you intended, and if you get hurt, I get to tear your paper. That kind of stuff. We did it. We just wrote down like 6 words that were the essence of your character and then crossed off a certain number of letters. And so that's how this other world was working. And that was in the setting we used, the Gardens of Yin. It's an old school revival setting if anybody wants to look it up. But it's a good, like, weird, supernatural, like like elf world sort of thing. It worked really well for our purposes. But yeah, the Terrible RPG, TEARABLE is the weird idea. And that was my personal fun thing, is the idea of different dimensions having, that you tear it, right? My fun pet idea of you go to different dimensions and they work by different RPG systems. So Thomag is D&D, but we went to a different dimension and it physics worked differently, so it was the Terrible RPG. It was a different base system. And if you had gone elsewhere, it would be other weird systems as well.
Doesn't Blades also, your Blades campaign, exist in the same world?
I threw that in the Thomag epilogue, so I guess it does.
Which works by its own little, it works by its own rules.
At least one character crossed over, but... And it's like, it's on the map. It's on my world map that I've populated with stuff.
World borders can work. I mean, your world is your world. It's magic.
Yeah. And I have there's other complications about whether that could make sense or not. But
you know what it
happened in the Thomag epilogue.
It's like God of War, where he destroys all of Olympus, and it's like, this should kill the world. And then he goes over to the Norse mythology, and they're fine. Yeah. It's like, how does that work? So I'm gonna chalk it up to that particular idea.
Didn't you lose so many words in the garden though that's why you couldn't eat meat when you came back?
Yes,
that's from the Gardens of Yin. That's a thing that can happen. Is like when you eat food there, you can get like an allergy, or sometimes they can like enhance you. And I think it's a random table, and I think somebody else did something and it like helped them temporarily. But then Quinn the character got a permanent meat allergy that persisted back into our world.
Broccoli is a great source of protein, everyone. Just let everyone know. Well, yes, make your shopping interesting. Invent new ways so that way it's faster than 3 hours. It's gotta be faster than 3 hours. I will say though, and I sort of scooted in here, that some of the role play between characters during the shopping scene was it's like very cringe. It was very White Knight, so I wanted to stay away from it. It was bad. Oh my God. There's like one girl who's playing. I was like, please stop. We can't keep we can't keep falling into this stereotype. You gotta scoot around it. But let's see here. So real quick, generally whenever I open up Above Table, this show here, I usually open it up with a hot take. That Strahd is very stinky. That Baldur's Gate, the city, sucks.
Gotham Junior.
It sucks. But I didn't really open up this one with a hot take. It was more of an opinion. It was sort of my opinion that shopping scenes should really just be put in the back.
You're gonna be a Travis Willingham, like, because he hates shopping.
It's not fun. But I do have a hot take to share with you. and I'm already making waves with the content creator they were just talking about. So this kind of fits in. And this is a personal preference, but I hate, and I will lump it in to narrow 2 descriptors, so that way my true hatred can be narrowed in. But I hate lone wolf edgy characters in any system, in any role-playing system. If you're a lone wolf edgy character who will not engage because you are just, I was born of the devil and my parents got killed and I will kill nobles, but I will also save this one. No, get out. I don't want you here. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack because people love playing that, and people sometimes you really want to play as an edgy character. No, I can't.
I think there's a way to do it though, because I mean, if you're okay, like most TTRPGs you're in a group, right? Like Blades, you're in a group. D&D, you're in a group. So it's like you're gonna have to talk to somebody, dude, and get over your own ego eventually.
Yeah, and a lot of systems these days do have some kind of built-in like party tension or party points or whatever that like gamify the interaction or the chemistry you have or the rivalry you have with other player characters. But I mean, I have to, I was born in 85 and I like Wolverine a lot more than Cyclops, and Raphael was my favorite Ninja Turtle. And I definitely like that worked for me and still works for me in fiction. But the point is that like those characters are only interesting in the hands of skillful writers where that tension is interesting. It's interesting to see, like in the X-Men 90s cartoon, not the revival, but Wolverine, argue with Cyclops and Professor X and go off and do his own thing, but then come back to the team and like weaving in and out of it. The original live action Ninja Turtles thing, where Raphael goes and tries to deal with it himself and gets really hurt
by Casey,
and the movie is like surprisingly like slows down, and they're having to like nurse Raphael back to health, and it's like that movie's so good. It's so much better than it has any right to be. But it's like, yeah, the badass character went off on his own and got his ass kicked because you can't do it on your own. And it's so then like those characters learning to work in a team, like that can be really satisfying. The TV tropes thing is the Lancer, right? That's it might even, I don't know my Arthurian very well, but like the Lancelot, the second in command, or that one that's like rivaling the leader and pushing
I was gonna say,
them
didn't
in a certain
Lancelot
direction.
and Arthurian lore had like a lot of problems?
I think so. I mean, I should do the reading, but I believe that's the case. But I mean, Wolverine and Raphael are the big two of that I can think of, right? And like in the 90s, in the dark, edgy 90s, they became or it would be Batman to Superman when they worked together on the Justice League, right? He's we'll do it this way, and Superman's like the golden boy leader or whatever.
The Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane days.
It makes the Cyclops, Leonardo, Superman characters more interesting to have to deal with a character like that. But in an RPG that's not in the hands of one skillful writer, it can so often be one character, one player wanting, like saying, I'm not going to work with this team. And it's like, well, then we can't really do a good game. Like, unfortunately, there's the realities of this game that you have to have a reason. And that's like a lot of DM advice says, like, hey, tell the players it's up to them to have a reason that their characters want to be here and want to be doing this. That's not on the DM. The DM should give like motivations, gold or whatever it is to keep going and the right kind of rewards, but it's not on the DM to make your character want to be here. If your character wants to go off and do their own thing, all right, bye. Like, that's not this game.
Yeah.
Go play a solo RPG, which totally exists in our
Go open up Skyrim and have your fun.
You can go do that, but this is the story of a team that we're doing here, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's why when we were shooting around characters for Ventir, I really liked Vesna, which was in your one-shot, your holiday one-shot with our 2 Hexblood twins. But I was telling me, I was like, she's not a good person. Like, she was only that nice because she was with her brother. I was like, she kills people for fun and would not go good with this group. Like, her her moral compass is nothing like Phoenix. Like Phoenix is awkward but willing to try. So
Yeah, that classic, like, if you have a lawful good paladin in the party and you have a thief, how does that work, right? And that like either one of them is not authentically playing their character, or that becomes the whole thing all the time and it gets annoying.
Lawful
right?
stupid,
So, like,
they call it.
yeah, having a way to work around that, I think, is important. And like having a cool, edgy rebel character can work, but you should think about it in terms of, I am playing a game with friends, and I can't always have the spotlight. And it's weird if my character is like rejecting the teamwork or whatever, because that's not what this story is about, right? Or it can be, and then it's just the end of that character, and that's fine, you know.
I had a surprise edgy moment with one of my one-shots I've been running. And again, I'm not going to go into full detail in terms of what the one-shot entails in case anyone listens to this and goes, hey, that's me. But there was sort of a big battle and a big fight, and this person who they were playing as was very much power gamer. Let's build it all out. There was moments of like introduction, and the way that the one shot starts is I'm like, and I usually tell this to anyone whenever it's like you got pulled from another world, is you look at everyone and everyone looks bewildered and confused, and you recognize on everyone's faces that they all just got pulled just like you. None of the people you are working with here are against you. It's very much of like you all are surprised and you all recognize that. And that's a way for people not to go, did you take me here? And I want to go stab the druid, you know, because they felt threatened. But at first I was like, great, that's perfect. Now everyone's talking except for this one character who, when everyone was introducing themselves, they just go, I move on. You know, they're like, I keep walking. You know, and I was like,
Nick's face.
I was like, all right, it was one moment. It was a real moment. I was like, okay, we're fine. They're working together. They're fighting. The big battle's happening. It's near the end of the game. They all get released from this giant climactic thing, and they have to talk to the NPCs. And the NPCs are saying, thank you. You just fought off the monster. This edgy person who honestly had two edgy moments that I could not clock, turned around and goes, it was not a problem for me. Next time, don't lump me up with a bunch of newbies and a bunch of like simpletons so I don't have to hold their hand. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? This is the most you've ever talked.
Wow.
And if you do figure this out, please play a team game.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's ways that story can be interesting, right? The team, I mean, that's, you know, it's not exactly the Avengers, but a lot of good movies have been made about a reluctant team coming together and having to be formed.
Yeah.
Right? That's maybe easier to do in a movie or a book where the focus can shift so easily compared to a game. But it's like you're making everybody play a game of, hey, convince my character to stay and work with you.
Oh, I hate
which
that.
is like it's not really conducive to fun for the team, which you do have to consider, right? It is your character. You should be able to have your character, but it is a character. You're not playing a solo RPG. This is not a video game. This is not a solo thing. This is about creating a fun environment for everybody, and that's your player responsibility too.
My favorite thing to do, and this is something I did for Amber's one shot, is if
Which
you are
one?
going, huh?
Which one?
Hades.
Oh, I was gonna bring up Hades for this particular reason.
No, you go with your point, and then I'll sort of add on to it.
I mean, you could just be like me and humble somebody. I won't name who in the Hades one shot, but you guys were all from different areas, obviously. And somebody tried to use their power on a god, and the god was like, "You're not from here. I'll give you your power back when I see fit.
The DM, you are
Try
God.
it again and see what happens." And it's just like, okay, we're not doing that right now.
My favorite thing to do, and I've only played an asshole character once, and it was purpose. I was like, I'm gonna make an asshole character, someone who is a liar, who will be like, "Yeah, sweetie, come on in. Let me heal you. I'm a cleric. Now go to sleep," and like that type of person who's a backstabber. Whenever you make a really shithole character, someone who is going to maybe not be fully with the team, as a player, humble them so much. I made a character who was an asshole, who was built like a power gamer.
You did get humbled.
But when it came down to how my character died in this one shot, I got kicked in the head by a donkey. And it's one of those things where like it humbles you a little bit because they're like, "How'd you die?" I got killed by an ass.
Yeah,
That is not a cool scene. It's not.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what happened to your body? They tossed me off a cliff.
To be fair with yours, though, everybody thought, like, I mean, I knew, obviously, because I knew your guys' little backstory for the one shot, but everybody thought you were nice at first and didn't realize you were a backstabbing bitch.
Yeah. But still, it's one of those things where I'm like, anytime you're an asshole character, anytime you fail, please play it up. Like, yes, I am the swiftest knight and you'll never see me. I rolled in at 1.
Yeah, you rode low like when you were fighting
Really,
against the
like,
B
really
Legion.
jerk players go, I rolled in at 1, damn it, and they get really upset with themselves. Like, there goes my cool character. No, please, just you put your foot in the fireplace, and now you scream out loud like Tom and Jerry.
I mean, a good moment of Mosted was that when we had guest players and Vera is not stealthy and our other players were centaurs?
Mm-hmm.
And we all rolled fucking nat ones when we were supposed to be sneaking. And I was like, oh, we're the loudest bunch of motherfuckers in the back that we're not supposed
And then
to be.
one of the centaurs like, oh, we just start singing because it's boring. Oh, me too. We're going to be like, it's like, oh my god. Yeah, but I don't like edgy characters. If you're not, yeah,
I
lone
think
wolves,
you can
it's
do
just
it
horrible.
to Nick's point. Like, I think you have to have a humbling moment, unfortunately, or something that endears you to the rest of the group. But if you continue with that attitude throughout and there is just no swaying you and there is no, like, able to work with you, then it's like, why are you here, man? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think thinking about, again, like, one part of my brain is always thinking about the Ninja Turtles or the X-Men. But in that first Ninja Turtles movie,
always?
Yes,
I liked Wolverine.
Raphael tries to do it himself and gets hurt and needs the team. In the first season of the X-Men animated series, Wolverine objects to like Professor X wanting to try to rehabilitate Sabretooth and have him in the mansion. And he says like, this is stupid. And then he makes the good point. Like, why do we have to go fight Magneto, your old enemy, but we have to go easy on mine? And he storms out and there's electric guitar riff or whatever. But later Sabretooth attacks Wolverine and almost kills him like in the mansion. It turns out he was right. But either way, this is a challenge that is too big for the independent badass to deal with on their own. There's a reason there is a Justice League that Batman has to go to and work with. Right? Explore that with your edgy, tough guy character. Like, say that you have all these solo adventures and you typically work alone. But because of whatever you're facing or the things you want to achieve, you have to do it with a team. Because you're not as good as one person. I mean, especially in an RPG.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. One attack roll versus 4. It's like the mathematics just shake out in your favor. That's why a team is better. Right. But that you can do that interesting story of the independent, badass character learning why a team is important or working with a team for a time and then going back to the solo life. That's fine, too. You don't have to do a team forever. Right. Maybe your arc is that time I worked with a team before I went off on my own again. Right.
Or you can just, experience the whole campaign being a jerk and the DM hates you, which is a great segue to an RPG horror story, everyone. Yay. Oh, yes. Well, and to Nick's point, whenever we go to these particular stories that, it could be truthful, may not. We don't know. Could just be made up stories. But with some of these that I found, they were written so hastily that it feels true. It wasn't built with AI that has beautiful language and then worked off with 12 other people. The first one does read, "Does my DM hate my characters?" And there's an S at the end of that, so there's more than one. I'm going to allow you to guess what that means. Like, what do you think the scenario is for this?
Probably they're not getting chances with stuff. Like it's just like, oh, I'm gonna shut you up before you start talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there definitely are bad DMs, and because DMs and players are people, there can be like grudges, and I don't like the kind of characters you make. I'm shutting you down a lot, or like saying no, you can't do that, or killing your characters. I hope that's not the case, but that can definitely be the case. I would get like being the fairest to everyone. It's maybe this player and this DM just don't jive in terms of like what kind of game they want it to be.
Yeah.
And the player keeps trying to make a particular kind of character or do a certain kind of thing that doesn't really fit in the world or story that the DM is telling. And so the DM's always shutting this person down, or, like their characters are suffering grievous consequences for doing things that the DM thinks is stupid, but the player thinks like, well, this is what my character would do. And this, they might be trying to play in different genres. And that can just cause a lot of problems.
We're
right?
seeing two ideas. Amber is saying that it's like the DM who's shutting down the player, meaning that the DM might be sort of the instigator here. And you're saying it could be the player who's trying to break this world, or maybe like just not play in the rules that's already been set.
Yeah, I'm trying to be fair, but if we wanted to say like fully the player, there are players who like everybody else at the table agrees on how this works.
Mm-hmm.
And your character keeps like, I'm gonna jump off the cliff and learn to fly. You're gonna die. And if you do that with another character, they will also die, right?
I rolled in that 20. I seduced the dragon. Give me all his gold.
Yeah.
The only reason I think it's the DM because I feel like if you have a big enough ego, you don't question yourself. So they're probably like, do they hate me?
Well, there's a lot of people who are oblivious to the way they think. So this is the story. So I play a 5e campaign, and I played a wizard, a fighter, and now a cleric. The fact that you've gone to 3 characters and still have grievances is weird. So when I announced I was playing as a divination wizard, my DM groaned and asked I asked after catching on that if I shouldn't play him, but he said it was fine. But after I took the lucky feat, yes, I'm a power building gremlin. He looked sad a little. And in the next tavern, when we were drunk, an assassin buried a dagger into my level 3 character and just said I was dead. Okay, maybe we had a moment. We don't know. Maybe there was a point here. Well, we're moving on to the next character. Maybe as a player in my head, I'd be like, that's a fluke. Maybe I didn't roll good perception. I was drunk. Hey, sometimes this happens. That sucks, but let's move on. After that, I decided to play a cavalier fighter and protect the squishy spellcasters that were in my team, as well as allowing the barbarian to go ham on the enemies instead of having to protect them. Okay, looking good. Now we're switching up tactics. But my DM was getting mad at me constantly thwarting their sneaky enemies, and lo and behold, the next fight we had, I fell into a valley and separated from my party, where a troll promptly killed my level 5 character because I was already low in HP. I don't. Maybe that's also a scenario that can happen.
Yeah.
Troll could have been there. Just bad luck. Troll lives there.
Troll lives underneath the bridge.
Yeah. Troll's gotta live somewhere.
Now I'm playing a grave cleric, a grave domain cleric,
they're not gonna
which
like
took
that.
my barbarian's high damage and doubled it because they do have like an ability to do that for one attack at least.
I'm thinking
But
about
I'm
the
starting
crit.
to think that the 3 assassins that were in the tavern that I saw in the last session were there to look at me and kill me after this one event we're doing. So, I mean, it's up to if the DM is going, and cleric, you look off to the side, and 3 assassins are just watching you.
I mean, I get why. I mean, I outwardly say it's my job to be a pain in your ass as a player, but I think you take it as a challenge and not like, I'm going to murder her in the ground.
Yeah, that's it's funny because it's the cavalier fighter in the middle just throws off they're picking all the most overpowered subclasses or whatever. It's a cavalier fighter. If you have a problem with that, what's wrong with you? It's a DM. You can't handle that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would be curious if like it sounds like assuming this is true and everything, and with the caveat, the answer to every RPG horror story is just have a conversation outside the game, right? So setting that aside, that's what people always say on that forum, and it's always true. Just talk. It sounds like there's a particularly adversarial DM and player relationship, which happens sometimes. Some people like that. Some people dig that. I think it can feel extremely unfair to be warping the world to like stop particular character tactics. It's better to just have a conversation and say, hey, this particular kind of thing, this is cheesy or this is kind of ruining the game. Can we adjust this ability or whatever? But it's also like, is nothing happening to the other characters? None of the other characters are getting targeted separately. Maybe the DM just like this, or
we're not getting the full story. You're right. Yeah.
This is a world where there's just daggers and assassins and trolls around every corner, or is it just this one? I mean, if that's the case, then it's not about the character. Yeah. It's not about the characters. It sounds like the DM might just not like this person, which is unfair, right? You can't be warping the world because this person. Just talk to them, and if you don't want to play with them, just tell them you don't want to play with them or whatever. Don't sick trolls on them or whatever until they play a shitty character.
There was a comment that left me dead, which was an assassin managed to kill even a drunk wizard who is a divination wizard with the lucky feat. That sounds overly suspicious.
Didn't see that coming, right?
Didn't see that coming, and then also the additive of if it walks like a duck, talks like quacks like a duck. Probably as a DM trying to kill you.
Well, I think something you guys both do as DMs, because I've been a player for both of you, you guys generally reward like creativity with something, even if it's mundane, or like if you gave us something and then we did something super weird with it that was like out of left field. Just sounds like this person didn't want like the challenge with that particular class or this player and was like, nope to everything.
It's like, it makes me think, and that is a good point. Like you should get to use the toys of your class, right? You should get to use at least sometimes. And then like as a DM, I do think it is, if one character is overpowered and like warping things, it's not your responsibility to kill them, but I think making more interesting challenges that are going to limit their abilities to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I think is part of being a good DM, and like challenge them in interesting ways. But it's also like, okay, so he was a cavalier fighter protecting the squishy people. It sounds like maybe the DM was trying to kill those squishy spellcasters too. Right?
Killed one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, killed one, and then it sounds like the DM just wants to kill these guys, kind of. You're ruining their plans.
I immediately, and this is late game in campaigns where I do, and maybe this is a bad thing to say, but I do target players when it comes to some combat encounters. And no, for Vera, for Magic and Moss is a great example. It's not like all of a sudden you are the target. It is you are in a story where you pissed off a villain or you're interrupting a villain's plan, and especially, and I love smart villains who engage with you once or twice, not to win. And there are signs of that where like they start to run. And the whole point of them running is not because they're like, and run away so we can regroup. It's more like, I got to run away. It's a report of what I learned. And there was a moment where like Vera, your character, Amber's character, where there were specialized torches that were hidden throughout certain places in this evil person's manor that was meant to siphon off divine magic. And it was because you had all of this divinity in you. I was like, you are so powerful. How do I level the playing field for these bad guys? And I'm like, well, it makes sense when they have been watching you for a full year.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they plan for this?
I think the funnest thing that came out of that was like when you made Arthur the Shadow, this little level 20. Was he halfling or a gnome?
So he was a halfling, but he wasn't a level. I later retconned it that he was not like a class. Through some other campaigns that were utilizing him, I sort of found out what he should have been. And the good thing, we never really explored what he really was. But he was essentially a mortal who was taking on more and more power to become a shadow patron for a warlock class. So he was becoming like big god.
Yeah, but I think we were under level 10, and that dude was just like the kingpin of basically a mob boss. Knocked us out, took all our shit, so we couldn't cast. And then I was like, "You taught me something. I'm gonna make a tattoo."
Yeah.
So I don't get into this situation again.
So there are moments where you can target a player, but we're not getting the full scene for these people. I think we have time for one more story. So I will give you guys the title, and you let me know which one you want to jump into. Some of these are pretty wild. Coerced into a relationship with the DM.
Is this the one we listened to?
No, different.
Oh God, there's a second one.
Okay, the other one. Oh, this one's wild. My ex-boyfriend / DM tried to launch a telekinetic missile at my friend. Screenshots included, and I will read the screenshots.
My vote's for telekinetic missile.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I can't. From that headline, I don't know if they're talking about in the game or in real life, which is very important distinction here.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about coerced relationships in RPGs.
Fair.
No, yeah.
This reads, in late 2018, I began my D&D / role-playing journey on Discord, on a Discord server ran by a friend of a friend, who we met on a moderation team within another Discord server. So, we're overhearing type of things. We'll call my friend Roman. And the server owner, aka my ex-boyfriend, Awi. Wait, he said, let's call my friend Roman. And the server will call him. Okay, so
yeah, two
included.
Different people.
I was like, why did you give your friend the fake name and not the ex? All right, we're moving on. I played a sort of joyous fairy girl named Ambrosia, my first mistake, and ended up role-playing with a lot of Awi, which is the DM and his characters. I fully believe that the only reason he was interested in me / asking me out was because he assumed I would be like my joyous character who is very role-play heavy. And again, they also state, and I'll skip a few sentences here, but they were all like, yeah, we were teenagers, and plus people who are just getting into role play, it's like a lot of like, you're exploring yourself. But this man was a terrible person. And I'm going to skip through a few of those things, but man, they're going to start talking about the DM directly. And this is what caught me was, first of all, in game, he was killing a lot of PCs willy-nilly. So that's not good. And on a whim, too, as well as butting heads with other players, fudging dice. Never fudge dice. You're the DM, too. If you're getting caught fudging dice, shame on you. Doing us poor. Dice tell the story. Where does it? Here he goes. Also, sending his PC inserts or his self-insert NPCs to godhood in his universe. So very much like my NPC who you guys are interacting with is now the most all-powerful people. Write a book at that point. Much more relevant to the story. Here's where we get good. He was a classic, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this because this is Japanese, but I did look it up. It's like Chuno Oboyo or something along that lines. And what it essentially means is an individual who has false views of grandeur, who sees themselves in a higher light when they obviously are not. So he believed the DM, where to Nick's point where he's like, I hope it was not a real missile. He believed he can control storms and lightning via telekinesis and had some sort of world-ending entity called the Leviathan who lived in his head.
Sounds like this guy needs a CAT scan. He'd be evaluated, my friend.
I don't know if I met anyone like this before. I got people who were close to it who I remember having a friend who was like, yeah, man, my dad's an alien. And I go, oh, like,
Which friend?
this was back in like grade school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but then you're in elementary
Yeah, you're in
school.
elementary, like, obviously, like,
He's a
imaginations
grown-ass
run
man.
wild. And I was like, you mean like, because, you know, we're in California. I'm like, you mean like from Mexico or something? And he's like, no, from outer space. And I'm like, okay. You're also the friend who also says my uncle works at Nintendo.
Wow, busy family. When you asked, yeah, my dad is an alien, and you asked which friend, I was like, Bleeblox Jr. thinks his dad is an alien. But yeah, I've met a bunch of people like this. In high school in German class, one of the first days, a guy told me he was a vampire. And I was like, oh, I'm a unicorn.
Nick met a vampire.
Cool. It sounds like this. Yeah, it sounds like this DM is playing World of Darkness. He's playing his own campaign with his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing Vampire the Masquerade or whatever. He just there's a DM above him that's playing the game with him as the character, right? He's one level deep in this situation.
He's chose the background dungeon master.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. There are games where you can play a character exactly like that, you know, and who may or may not be, you know, right about the state of the world or whatever. But yeah, it just
The next line that reads after he has the world-ending entity named Leviathan in his head was, "Do not ask me, please, for the love of God, do not ask me why I was still in a relationship with this person. I was a stupid teenager with zero common sense. Thank you for covering your bases."
I think that describes a lot of people in this story.
Yeah.
I would have had a lot of questions of like, why the fuck do you think that?
Let's see here. So, anyways, one of the players he butted heads with was a previous great friend. He was actually previously great friends with for like, you know, a few months, and then now they're currently no longer having fun. Obviously, they broke up in this story, but did provide screenshots of one moment where the DM found the friend essentially like in game trying to put a move on an NPC that the DM also was fawning over. So like the DM had two NPCs, a self-insert and like their dream waifu. And then here comes player character going, well, I might actually like this character. They kind of fit me very well. And then the DM going, wait a minute. How dare you? And so this is, now I'm going to read the screenshots. This is wild.
I launch a mental
I
missile.
sometimes I'm always humbled about how the world works, or I'm like, I live in a comfortable common sense world where I hang out with common sense people. Sometimes I forget that there is more than what is within my bubble.
That's what happens when you venture outside. Then you're like, why'd I do that?
Put me back in. So yes, this is what happens. So after the whole let's hit on the NPC character who is the waifu of the DM who's his own NPC. I know, confusing. This is from the DM. Blank character, more than likely the friend, is offensive and rude, etc. Status, wary, untrustworthy, two-faced, etc. Status, threat. I'm seriously reading this verbatim.
Sounds like he's reading computer code, like an analytics.
Threat status equals potential danger. Level 1. Keep alert. He put this in a Discord chat.
To himself?
In general.
Oh.
In general
even
chat.
better.
Prepare to be neutralized. Beginning phase 1. Storm booting up. And now there is a bunch of computer code saying Storm launch successful. Phase 2. Running scans. All systems functional. Hey, any animator out there, can you just make a screen, a computer screen, and then a bunch of green text on a black background? You know, we're gonna go
That's
full
what
on.
I was thinking when I was reading. When you were
Control.
reading this.
Phase 3, enact. Begin absorption of energy. Preparing wand. Target this person. And now here we have the response of the friend. What do you think you're doing? Oh, man. And I guess this guy's username, a part of it that has been shown, is Pi. There's more to it. It's probably like something Pi. I don't know. And so he goes, Entity found. Attacked Pi. Attack Pi? Attack me? Wait, the character or the me? What are you talking about? Pi located. Energy absorption completed. Locating. It goes on for like 5 lines of locating because he's a computer. Does anyone remember the movie Grandma's Boy?
Uh-huh.
I didn't see Grandma's Boy.
Oh my god, there's a character named JP who acts like a robot.
I mean, I think this is just bearing out my theory that this dude is a World of Darkness character. He is a character in a Vampire the Masquerade-esque game. He is not a person like other people may be. He is playing a game.
Does he have an uncle who's also an alien?
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I think he's probably the annoying lone wolf badass that we discussed in the previous part of the conversation, but he's that in real life.
Yeah, but like Wolverine and Raphael, like I could tolerate. This is like some tomfoolery.
This person is not great at socializing, which is happens with a lot of RPG players, and I hope they're all doing well now. I hope they're all doing better and not
Nick,
doing this.
This is your teacher showing.
Stuff like this is just so
cringe.
If anybody sharing what they were doing in an RPG when they were like in high school or early college or whatever is embarrassing, just transparently embarrassing. And then if you have whatever, if you are a type of person that this person is, mm-hmm. it looks worse from the outside, right? But it crosses a line where I'm like, okay, this guy has something.
So I'm gonna jump ahead to where it really killed me. It's a lot of this guy sending out fake computer command codes of like different statuses and locating. Actually naming, I guess, because they are friends, the state of where this guy lives, and I was like, all right, hold up, no, now we're getting a little weird. And it's interjected with the friend going, dude, this isn't like necessary, whatever you're doing here, to just a simple what to some of the code here, and then finally to a point of action complete, error. Unknown issue, returning back to normal, almost like I couldn't actually hurt you, so there's a problem on my end. End of phase, storm shutting down, and now it continues to now actual text of going, damn, my charge is too weak compared to the other times that I've hurt other people. My mind is scattered. It's too this way and that, and this I was in quotes. You forced me to put the storm maneuvers off, right? And I was just hoping to give everyone a good shock. You could talk now. Talk, please. No one was like, let's not engage. Don't look at him.
Yeah, that moment in a thing like this, where it's like, I think it's the magician, the amazing Kreskin, that used to like debunk psychics or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think he still does if he's still alive, or his foundation has like $1 million if you can prove supernatural phenomenon. And they get like psychics or people who talk to ghosts or whatever, and they just get them in a room and they get them in controlled scientific environments, and they just let them do their thing. And they just wait and they watch them and they record it. And there's that moment where it's like, oh fuck, I can't bend a spoon with my mind. But I've always been able to fake it before.
Because
you don't know if the person, or like those karate guys, the old karate guys that are supposed to knock people down like with their chi, and they just gesture like this, and guys go flying.
You mean Steven Seagal?
Yeah, like him, because it is part of it because he has such a presence in his reputation. People throw themselves backwards or go along with it. It's almost like hypnotism, right? It's part of not wanting to embarrass him, but it's also convincing yourself or whatever. But that, I'm sure there's a German word for the moment when you as the audience and the person as the charlatan or whatever realizes this is not going to work, and we're all just here in this moment. How many times are you going to try? When can we stop this?
Yeah, this
It's
is
like,
getting
oh.
embarrassing. Let's walk away
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
In general chat, though, it's not even too like personal.
Yeah, it's not like DM'd or in a
TM.
personal chat. It's like right for everyone within the party, because I'm sure there was more than just two
I've been
people
like,
to
bro,
witness.
how hard did he get hit in the head?
There's an amazing one where
doing this.
$10. I bet $10 that this guy owns and wears an eye patch.
He's a character, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
if again, being as fair as possible to everyone, being
Nick,
diplomatic.
Nick,
and
you always
understanding.
bring the most diplomatic approach. I appreciate that.
What Lovecraft had a quote where it's like all of life is just images in the brain, and there's no reason to value. I forget if he says no reason to value like the waking life over the dream or the real compared to the unreal, because it's all just electricity in the brain, right? And who is to say that you cannot live your life as if you were an RPG character, if that is what brings you more fun and satisfaction or helps you interact with the world? If that is what makes sense to you, you can be a World of Darkness guy with thinking you have psychic powers and an eye patch. As long as you're not hurting anybody else,
Well,
go with God. But I would not
The
want to
missile
play
failed.
in your D&D game or whatever.
I was just like,
not what I'm
counter
looking for.
argument. As long as you're not making threats against people.
I mean, if you want to threaten me with your psychic storm powers all day long, go for it. I'm not.
Oh my god.
Nick is gonna.
I'll-
I'm
yeah.
gonna offer $100 million to anyone who can hit me with a psychic lance.
I have enough supernatural tokens and cool rocks in my house that they won't affect me, so I'm all right. You know,
We
I
smudged the
got stuff
windows.
everywhere. Yeah. All my lucky totems will protect me from your supernatural storm beam or whatever it is.
Yours work, mine does too.
Exactly.
It's very much school grounds of like, nah, I got a super shield that blocks your
Yep.
super invincible lasers.
Yep. It blocks anything I don't believe in. So
Well, thank you so much, guys, for hanging out and watching, reading this cringeworthy stuff, as well as learning that.
This whole time I'm like, this man just needs to go to like a LARP, like curated
have
for
fun.
him. And maybe he'll get like this energy out and he won't be so fucking weird with his
Masquerade
group.
can be played in real life.
yeah, that he wants that. That's the thing he wants to be doing. Yeah.
I'll give him No, we're moving on. But thank you so much for joining us for Above Table, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.